Today, some short comments on this long, and I mean long, biography. Amazon tells me this is over 1,100 pages, although it should be noted a good chunk of that is endnotes and bibliography. No, I didn't read those, don't worry. I'm not that far gone. It took me about 6 hours to read, and the Kindle app told me that if I had waited through the rest of the material, that would have added about another hour and a half to the length. This is a biography of the physicist behind the Manhattan Project, although, as the title perhaps suggests, it focuses as a centerpiece on the hearing in the 1950s where he was denied an extension of his security clearance, an example of McCarthyism run amok, at least according to the authors. Oppenheimer participated in left-wing politics in the 30s and 40s and was, at the very least, a fellow traveler with communists. The extrajudicial aspect of the hearing, once it was well known, led to Oppenheimer to be considered a martyr to free thought and free association, as well as an excess of McCarthyism. This is fine as far as it goes, but it takes us a long time to get there. Part of the problem is that we will get narrative description of various eyewitnesses who are experiencing the same event, which, particularly when it comes down to the questions of Oppenheimer's links to the U.S. Communist Party and possible Soviet agents, makes the narrative grind to a halt, especially because, not surprisingly, the witnesses all have different descriptions of what happened, and Oppenheimer himself, in one incident, freely admitted that he made stuff up. This would be a great moment for authorial description. Tell us where the different witnesses conflict, then give us the best or most reasonable explanation. That's fine. That's what a historian typically does. But in this case, we get all the evidence dropped on us. So after a while, I wasn't sure who exactly I was supposed to be believing or what exactly any of it had to do with anything, especially because the authors will throw in their own 2 cents occasionally, sometimes coming up with explanations that, quote-unquote, should have been something that the people of the time thought of, but didn't for whatever reason. Well, okay then. That's nice, I guess. All that being said, this is an excellent look at a truly fascinating individual. Otherwise, it demonstrates just how exciting a field physics, particularly nuclear physics, was in the early 20th century. All of the big names are mentioned here. Oppenheimer interacted with all of them, both those who were part of the Manhattan Project, as well as Einstein and the major names from the previous generation, as well as shaping, through his grad students, much of the post-World War II landscape. Many years ago, I read Richard Rhodes's massive Making of the Atomic Bomb, another big book. I should probably revisit that, since as I recall, that book was more interested in the science than the personalities, whereas this book is almost all Oppenheimer's personality and how he was judged by those around him. Now, this leads us to the question of which list is it going to end up in. I'd say just slightly books I liked. That being said, it's not something that I'm probably going to be revisiting anytime soon. Probably, maybe, 5 years from now. In brief, this is a book I more respected than enjoyed reading.